I love Armored Core. I love it a lot more than I've expected, and I'm having a blast playing it since it finally released. It is also my very first Armored Core game, and my only prior experience with mech games was SD Gundam Battle Alliance a few months earlier, so I had pretty much zero experience. However, I can't stop playing this game, and since I finished all 3 endings with my lovely SC Carter Cinder, I've completed the game with Rusty Steelhaze and Carter's full course as well. My 6th playthrough was going to be something really special. You see, so far I've only played the game with Japanese voices because it gave me more of a Gundam vibe, and overall I love Armored Core's Japanese voices, especially Walter and Carter, and Air, who sounds like a confused puppy version of Ibis from the Somnium files.
あなたには私の更新が届いているのですね。誰って私に決まってるだろ。奇妙とはなんだ。可愛くて仕方がないだろ。
So my 6th playthrough was going to be my first time with the English voices, and I only wanted to use the standard AC, Loader 4. This was not enough though. Armored Core 6 is not much of a hard game. It has its spikes, but it's pretty manageable. But since the game exceeds in fun, the difficulty never bothered me. Every stage was fun and the challenging moments were fantastic. But this time I wanted to test myself. I wanted to know if it was possible to beat the game with not only the standard SC, but also with no upgrades throughout the entire game. Before we start, let me know in the comments which boss or mission you think will give me the most trouble or end my run. I'd love to know, because going into this I definitely had a few obstacles on my mind. So first of all, I resetted all of my upgrades. It's kind of annoying we don't have different save files to speedrun the game, but I'm glad we can reset upgrades and simulate playing an entirely new file. Sadly, when I started my run I didn't think about making this video, so I only started the recording during Investigate Boss Arsenal number 2, the mission with the invisible enemies. But I replayed a few earlier missions just to have footage and talk a little bit about these first missions. They were nothing special really. I mean, we all started the game without upgrades and the game isn't necessarily hard during that part. I can show you the Juggernaut fight since that is the only non-tutorial boss I didn't record, but as you can imagine it was not much of a challenge. Since I already beat the game 3 times I had a few decisions early on, but as much as I love beating up the red guns, there was no way in hell I would be able to beat Volta and Iguazu together. They always trouble me every single time I play through this game, and trust me, it hurt me to not ambush Iguazu on this run. I also destroyed the Strider instead of trying to escort it because I was not ready to deal with these awful wheel mechs. You see, I was worried about quite a few things from the very start and I didn't have high hopes to come very far to begin with. Anyway, chapter 1 was no problem for the most part. I thought my amount of energy in taking damage would be much worse, but it turned out really solid. However, when I reached the final stage for chapter 1, I knew this could take a couple of minutes. Playing in English was also a blast so far. Being distracted from the subtitles during a fight and still being able to understand what the characters are saying is actually super immersive. Who would have thought? So that was also my very first time to listen to Solar's English voice actor.
Attacking a watch point. You're incorrigible, Handler Walter. How many of your dogs must I kill before you learn?
What a piece of shit. So I got rid of Solar after a super fun fight and got ready to finally fight Balteos.
Who are you?
Fuck off.
Raven. I've identified an approaching enemy. I'll synchronize with your brainwaves and maintain contact to support you.
This fight started really bad. Balteos is an amazing boss and clearly indicates his attacks, so it was the worst feeling to just take some of his super obvious rockets to the face. Luckily, I managed to pull myself together and finally started doing what I should have done from the very beginning, dodging. Playing with no upgrades at all really needs you to actually learn some of these fights. I already finished this game 5 times before, so I know Balteos' moveset, but one thing was still very scary. Playing without my pulse shield that activates at 1 HP. I took good use of this expansion when I used my own mech, and there were many times I thought I could never play without this, but it was a super good feeling to not even need it in this scenario. Suddenly, I beat Balteos' first try and I was super happy with that. This was the first fight I actually considered a possible problem and this was none. Finally, I got a glimpse of hope. Chapter 2 started with my favorite character in English and their fun first mission. The one was not much of a problem either, but I actually died once during the boss. Smart Cleaner confirmed stronger than Balteos. Since I didn't beat Iguazu's ass earlier, he didn't annoy me in the next mission and I got the super easy one that I cleared in like 40 seconds. The final mission for chapter 2 was another one that worried me in the beginning. When I first played the game, the Sea Spider was a little bit of trouble, but just like Balteos, I already fought it a couple of times and had the movement down. No problem at all. Wow, chapter 2 is really short. Chapter 1 and 2 were really no problem, and after beating these two kind of hard bosses, I was ready for chapter 3 and its free gimmick boss. Okay, so chapter 3 didn't really have any mission worth mentioning for the most part. There was also none that came to my mind as especially difficult for this run. Well, there was the Special Forces craft. That one was actually way harder than I initially thought, and I think that was the first mission I was stuck for a little bit. Took me about 20 minutes to beat it, nothing too bad. So I was getting closer and closer to the ice realm. Right before I could finally take it on, I had one last mission to do. Defend the old spaceport. Just a little PvP mech fight.
Do you read me, Raven? I've identified the target. That's the mercenary who took your name. Let's see how far they can fly. On borrowed wings.
Oh no. This fight completely fucked me over. Raven is a fucking menace. I never fought something so fast and punishing at the same time. Her melee weapon depletes like 60 or 70% of my health. She kicks me, she has a barrier, rockets, she can heal 3 times just like me, but unlike me, her heal heals 50% of her health. This fight is absolutely insane. You have to react to every single one of her moves because otherwise she suddenly goes melee and murders you. I'm not entirely sure if there is a little bit of input reading going on like in Elden Ring, but a lot of the time she instantly reacts to my melee weapon with her barrier. I'm not sure and I honestly don't care because my headcanon is that Raven is just that much of a skilled pilot that she can react that way. I initially thought this was the end of my run because keeping up with a super fast AC that heals 3 times and doesn't take much damage looked nearly impossible. But it was just nearly impossible. I had many tries where I got to her last bar, but I never had enough health to actually have a chance. But the fact that I got to her last bar was reason enough to keep trying. And besides that fight was so much fun. I'm not kidding, I fought Raven for like 6 to 8 hours I think in total over 3 days and I didn't feel frustrated. Not even a barrier frustrated me because I was able to bait it and then use my melee sword before the barrier was ready again. So after many hours, I finally managed to beat her. And this was the try. You might wonder why there is no sound except the music. You see, as much as I love to fight, I didn't want to sit several hours in front of one boss and do nothing else. Whenever I fight a boss for a longer time, I like to watch YouTube videos or Twitch streams on my other monitor. During this try I was watching a German daily soap called Berlin Tag und Nacht with my best friend. I muted my mic at OBS, but the recording has my best friend and the soap playing in the background, so it's kind of weird to just let it play like this. But I'd like to take this chance to tell you a little bit about Berlin Tag und Nacht. In the episode we were watching during this, there's this blonde woman called Peggy and her whole character is that she wants a baby. A few episodes earlier she found out that her boyfriend can't make her a baby because he took steroids during his youth. Now Peggy is super desperate and one of her friends named JJ, yes that is her actual name, has a baby but she gave it to another family after giving birth. Peggy is super mad how she can't have a baby but JJ gave her baby away, but in this episode she has to take care of a 2-year-old child. JJ I mean. She and Peggy go to a playground and when JJ goes somewhere else, another mother with a child comes to Peggy and asks if she was the mother of the child. Peggy says yes and gets into a fight when JJ finds out about it. I wish I could tell you more about the fight between Peggy and JJ, but it's been most of the time, wow, you have a baby, I wish I could have a baby, oh, can I have your baby? It's something like this, but it's been a while and I don't want to give you false information about the show. This is really important, so let's say Peggy lost. There I had to pause because I had to skip the story of Hannah. Hannah is the daughter of Peggy's boyfriend Joe, and their stories are very boring most of the time. She also has these two friends who are super annoying, so we skip these parts whenever we can. It's a miracle I was still in the flow after that and I was able to properly do the fight. Okay, where was I? So Joe and Peggy live in a shared apartment with Ode, Fabrizio, JJ, Marcel and Sophie. And funny trivia, Marcel once cheated on his girlfriend by sleeping with the daughter of Joe. When Joe found out about it, he knocked Marcel out and Alina, oh yes, Alina lives there as well, so Alina was super pissed at Joe, but Alina has already slept with Joe's girlfriend in the past, so she has no right to even comment on anything, but she always does. The name of Marcel's ex-girlfriend is Chayla, and Chayla was a super nice girl in character, and she really loved Marcel, but Marcel is a huge asshole and cheated on her with the daughter of Joe, and there's also this girl named Maike in the shared apartment, and Chayla was always jealous of Maike because Maike was the first true love of Marcel, so of course, that was the victory. Looks like I can fly on these powered wings. I want to be real with you. After that fight, I was destined to finish this run. There is no way I just spent 6 to 8 hours on the mission just to give up. I earned that Raven title and I will become the not upgraded Raven in the end. So next was the Iceworm mission. And I don't want to raise false hope, of course I equipped the stun needle. There is no fucking way you can do this without. Yes, you can damage the shield, but I'm 99% sure your weapons are too weak and you don't have enough ammo to deplete the shield 4 times. If anyone considers this run done because I changed the AC by equipping a weapon for a gimmick boss, that's absolutely fine. Consider the run done and note to yourself, you can't beat the game with no upgrades and only loader 4. I also used the stun needle to do enough damage because look at this, I don't think I had enough otherwise. It's a super cool fight but mostly a DPS race and a huge gimmick more than anything else. So if that ends the run for you, cool. Hope you leave a like and maybe I'll see you next time. For everyone still watching, hi! Chapter 3 was completed and I reached Chapter 4. I'm really looking forward to reading your comments because personally, Chapter 4 was my biggest fear. This is how I pictured this chapter in my head. Depth 1, no problem at all. Depth 2, the Enforcer may end this run. Depth 3, fight could be annoying but I'll manage. Intercept the red guns or ambush the Vespas. There is no way I'll do this Michigan stage, so Middle Flatwell might be able to tank Pater and Hawkins. Should be okay. Unknown territory survey could be annoying especially when Middle Flatwell interferes. Reach the Coral Convergence, hopefully manageable since Ibis has really good indicators for its attacks. There are potentially 3 super hard missions in this chapter, so I went along and hoped for the best. Depth 1 was no problem like I predicted. I figured a good way out to do this, but I always brute forced my way down with the other ACs. This time I had to use my brain and the smart way of approaching things. Depth 2 was... fuck me, exactly what I predicted. Iguazu went down like the bitch he is and the Enforcer gave me a similar feeling like Raven. Only worse. The Enforcer has this super annoying gun that shoots these super fast bubble like bullets and a pistol that shoots lasers, and if anyone knows how to consistently dodge them, please tell me. Because even after several hours I have absolutely no idea how to do that. You can see when he grabs and charges his gun, but sometimes he only shoots 1 laser. Most of the time he shoots 2 and I even saw him shoot 4 lasers back to back. And sometimes they just hit me and he has so much fucking health. I needed to stagger him with a projectile to do actual damage with my sword, and every time I stagger him with the sword I died inside. Every stagger with the sword was wasted because my bullet damage was not nearly as good and it's not easy to stagger him. This boss also dodges away from you like he's the tiniest AC in existence, but he's actually bigger than me. When I started fighting I thought I was done. Real talk. I thought this boss was impossible because of his arsenal of weapons, the tracking and his insane movement speed. But I got him into phase 2. And in phase 2 the boss jumps, sticks his weapon into the ground and sends a shockwave through it. And while this is annoying in some cases, it was an amazing attack window. So I had to try, I knew it was possible. I saw how much damage I did, so I started doing the only thing left. I became super fucking aggressive. Funny enough, all these tries were great. 3 tries back to back I got him to his last 10% of health. I knew I was getting close and couldn't stop now. I started another try. Once again you'll only hear the theme of the boss, but I wasn't watching Berlin Tag und Nacht. I was watching a YouTube video, but since it would be boring to talk about it, I'm just going to keep telling you about Berlin Tag und Nacht. So, Peggy really liked pink and was wearing pink all day, but one day she decided she wants to change and then started wearing black, and now she's not as annoying as before. Her mother, however, is awful. She's constantly visiting Peggy and randomly started dating a weird hippie guy who walks naked through the park. Usually Joe would interfere, but the writers of the show stopped caring about him for like 100 episodes and now he's just disagreeing with Peggy all the time. There was clearly something wrong with the hippie guy, but Joe acted like he's his friend and told Peggy to stop bothering her mother. The hippie guy then tried to marry Peggy's mother, but she wasn't ready for it. But no, that did not end the relationship. She moved in together with the hippie and Fabrizio became a masseur. Why do I mention it? Because the hippie guy is a masseur and Fabrizio then worked for him. Anyway, Peggy's mother thinks the hippie is a true love, but one day he starts dating someone else. But he was not cheating, because he practices free love and kind of tries to start a harem? Not sure, it's been a while. It's actually really hard to remember these plots because we've been watching a lot of Berlin Tag und Nacht and there are so many different plots. Some are fun, some are not. The hippie plot was pretty boring, but I gotta start somewhere to explain the show to you guys. The thing about Berlin Tag und Nacht is that the show has over 3000 episodes and every time someone talks about it, they say that all the actors are doing is screaming at each other. And when I was watching it, that was not true. Sure, it's not a high quality show and the acting is awful a lot of the times, but there was not much screaming. But I only started watching around episode 1600. A few months ago we started to watch the show from the very beginning and holy shit, the meme is real. They are non-stop screaming at each other for the stupidest shit. I can't even remember an example because it's so irrelevant most of the time. But if you're doing something else, like playing Armored Core 6 with loader 4 and no upgrades, it's pretty cool. At this point my heart was racing, by the way. I was never this close to kill this boss. And I knew with my amount of health and already getting hit, I would die. I was so close. 800 HP are not much. But when I actually did it, I was so fucking relieved. Fuck this boss, but I still kinda like him. The Enforcer was down and I was filled with determination to beat this challenge once again. This boss also took me around 6 hours and I can't say that it was as fun as the Raven fight, but it was still fun. The lasers felt unfair, but I still had a blast playing. I loved this game's combat and movement. At least Depth 3 went way better than I expected. The fight was not a problem and the mission about as easy as Depth 1. Long story short, I got to ambush the Vespas. And in a similar way how Raven became one of my favorite characters, I found the very first Armored Core 6 character I hate. Now guess, is it Hawkins or is it Pater? Wrong. It's Middle fucking Flatwell. Remember when I said I thought he could tank both of them? Turns out he can die and doesn't have much HP. Whenever he dies, he says,
Well played. I'm withdrawing. Finish it, Raven.
Whenever I die, he says,
I expected more.
when I fight Pater, Hawkins obliterates him, and fighting Hawkins myself is the only way of having a high chance of Flatwell not dying during his own encounter. But even then I have to hurry and can't waste any time. Usually when I was able to beat Hawkins, I'd have no healing and about 3000 HP. And Pater's melee attack is nothing short of dangerous, just like Hawkins. Both have dangerous melee attacks and especially Hawkins has a super high range. I tried to attack the same target as Flatwell, but after a few seconds he will change the target, which is at least not dumb and helpful in general, but in a situation like this I would have liked to try it this way. But whenever I tried doing that, the other AC destroyed me, so I guess it wasn't such a good idea anyway. One time when Flatwell and I were attacking Pater together, I had a really good opportunity to strike him with my sword and the so-called Rubicon Liberation Front leader kicked him out of reach. And then I died. Fuck you. I actually tried the Michigan mission because I wanted to see how it goes in comparison. And funny enough, it wasn't that bad. I cleared the MTs very quickly and was able to fight Michigan almost one-on-one. However, getting to Michigan without taking too much damage was not easy and the fight itself wasn't either. I think I could do it, but it'd take way too much time clearing all the stuff in the beginning to even try Michigan. So I went back to the Vespas mission and my hate towards Middle Flatwell only grew. However, I think after around 4 hours of total, I finally managed to do it. Another fight that really stressed me out and I was getting closer to Ibis, but there was one more challenge waiting up ahead.
Go deal with a mercenary who went in alone, they said. Figures. Seems both of us are too dangerous to keep around. And the higher-ups wouldn't miss an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. Hate to say it, but Rubicon still needs me. So, buddy, who needs you?
This fight is by far the biggest pain I had to endure. Rusty, no problem. And like I said earlier, there's a version of this fight with only Rusty, but of course, middle fucking Flatwell had to ruin my day once again. I fight Rusty until his first heal. I get stagger damage during it, and suddenly Flatwell flies into the arena, shoots giant missiles, staggers me and kicks me in the face, all while Rusty charges towards me and utterly destroys me with his melee weapon. And this didn't happen once, no, this happened all the time. Flatwell is basically here to stagger me, and the moment this bar gets red, Rusty will charge for the life of him to me and kill me. I'm actually super lucky that Flatwell comes in with half his life and doesn't heal. I probably stopped if he had any heal because surviving this is pure hell. I try to ignore him, I get staggered. I try to immediately attack him, he got iframes the first seconds he comes in and then I get staggered. I try to play safe and this I got staggered. Fuck this fight. Fuck Middle Flatwell, fuck the Rubicon Liberation Front, and fuck air! The last one wasn't necessary. Sorry. Anyway, I managed to do this within an hour. Yes, this is faster than some other fights, but it felt way longer and it was painful. The only mission I truly hated because of Flatwell. Second to the only other mission with him. I'm starting to see a pattern here. Finally I managed to reach the Ibis mission. The ACs were no problem, so let's jump to the main act. This boss is amazing. Seriously, it has very clear indicators and you mustn't stop moving. Dodging and punishing its moves is so satisfying, and my biggest fear, a lack of damage output and ammunition, were nowhere in sight. Well, my shoulder ammo got depleted, but that was easily manageable. I was happy to realize my prediction was correct. Ibis was not much of a problem due to it having such good choreographed attacks. This was my last try. Hey there! Are you waiting for your next bit of lore about Berlin Tag und Nacht? I hope so, because here it comes. So, episode 450, alright. You do care, right? Maybe you absolutely don't care and just want to watch the video, see the gameplay and maybe hear some insights about the fight. But maybe you are invested now. And what if I don't tell you anything else? What if you have questions about the hippie guy, or Fabrizio, or Peggy's mother, or Peggy, or Joe, or Hannah? But of course, you're probably not caring. I mean it's a stupid little daily soap. Who gives a fuck? So let's talk about the boss fight. So you can see I'm trying to hit the boss and not get hit. Yeah, that's the stuff, right? No stupid Peggy, Joe, etc. Just Ibis and me dodging all of the stuff. Still having 1 health, almost a full health bar. Nice little fight. And there I get the kill. Super satisfying and beautiful end to an otherwise horrible chapter. Seriously, chapter 4 was a hell ride. The escape mission is always the same, so nothing worth mentioning, and defending the towers for Carter was not a big deal either. However, after that I reached an important decision. Siding with Air or siding with Carter. Siding with Carter would mean fighting V1 Freud, Rusty and Air herself. Siding with Air would mean fighting Carter and Chetty at the same time, another Smart Cleaner and V2 Snail on an enhanced Baltheos in the same mission, and Walter at the very end. I think we can all agree that Walter wouldn't be that hard, but Chetty and Carter is something I don't want to do for 2 reasons. First reason is that the Flatwell fight already showed me that 2v1 AC fights are big trouble when they can heal. I think Chetty stays on distant as long as Carter is alive, but I'm not sure and I don't see myself beating that. The second reason is, how could I betray Carla? She saved me and I love her. So bye bye Air. I thought V1 Fraud was the only hassle in this mission, but I forgot that this mission had an AC as a middle boss. This thing was a nightmare, and I didn't even have a checkpoint there, so I had to fly all the way through the entire stage every time I died. I didn't die too much, but that was only because this thing had no heal. Not sure if I beat this thing if it was like a normal AC. Depleting 1 health bar was already hard enough. Anyway, V1 Freud was really fun. He also had a melee weapon with a lot of range, but it was manageable to either dodge or not get hit by sheer luck. His shield was mildly annoying, but I was doing a good amount of stagger damage to him. It was really interesting to see after coming this far, Raven was still the hardest AC fight I had. I didn't realize when I was playing in Japanese, but Freud is so horny for battle. Although Waikata is mourning over Chaddy, I was really invested for my 6th run and 3rd time doing this mission during a playthrough. After that I got to one of my favorite missions in the game. It's kinda sad that this is the only mission where you can infinitely fly, but it also makes it more special. However, Rusty in the Steel Haze Autos AC was the last fight I was really afraid of. I didn't know how the infinite energy would affect the fight and my playstyle, so in my head this was the last obstacle I had in front of me.
Here we are, buddy. I was right all along. You were just another threat to Rubicon.
This fight was really tough. I'd still argue that Raven was more difficult, which makes it in my eyes the most skilled pilot in the game's story, but Rusty still gives me a lot of trouble. He has this little drone that aims way too good at you and raises your stagger bar like crazy. I also learned to hate Rusty's melee weapon range and kick. There were so many moments where I was out of reach and the hitbox probably barely hit me. Same with his kick that hit me while I was clearly dodging next to him. That's the only BS I caught in this fight. Otherwise it was just really hard to not get staggered so he can't kill you off with his double laser sword. I was on the edge for most of this fight because you can't make a wrong move or your stagger bar rises. And you absolutely don't want this to happen. My goal was to reach his last bar with at least 2 heals so I can slowly progress to his last stand and then play it cool. I was more than relieved when it finally happened. Such a cool fight. Seriously. Do you think Rusty would watch Berlin Tag und Nacht in his cockpit while doing that fight? Oh my god, imagine he's watching Berlin Tag und Nacht in his cockpit just like I'm watching Berlin Tag und Nacht basically in my cockpit while doing this fight. That's my headcanon now. Coming this far, there is no way I could give up now. So many hours I fought Raven. So many hours I was struggling with the Enforcer. Way too many hours of lateral making my life miserable. All the intensity during that last Rusty fight. No matter how unbelievably hard air would be, I was determined. I will finish this. And this was my first try. I feel like she's angry and I don't know why.
Main system activating combat mode.
I will stop you. End the silence.
Did you know that I have more than 120 hours in Armored Core? And for at least 119 I thought air would be pronounced Eire, and I actually recorded me saying Eire the whole time, and every time my voice changes it is because I changed the Eire to air because I didn't want to come off as absolutely stupid for pronouncing it wrong. But I was playing Japanese the whole time, so I didn't catch how her name is pronounced. And yes, I did play it in English this time, but I didn't get it this time either. So yes, I thought it was Eire the whole time until I was watching a scene for this video and just heard how she said air. Maybe that's why she's so fucking angry.
I will stop the silence.
I got her to almost half of her health without preparation. That was it. I had my answer. Can you beat Armored Core 6 with only Loader 4 and no upgrades? Yes. All I had to do now was execute it. At first I didn't think air would be much of a problem. She also has very good indicators and clear attacks. You're able to avoid her attacks mainly by moving sideways, and once she attacks you with her sword, there is a certain spot to consistently dodge through. Her barrier was rather annoying since that thing needs a lot of damage and you have to deplete it before getting to her health bar. To avoid wasting damage, I had to destroy the shield with my bullets and then attack with my sword. That means I can't just use my sword all the time against the barrier, and just shooting takes time. It's easy to get hit by small projectiles who don't do much damage, but when the first phase takes quite long, this damage adds up and makes it more difficult to get to the second phase with a lot of health. Speaking of the second phase, This attack is the reason this fight is so hard. Not in this moment, because the first time is actually very easy to avoid by flying up backwards, but she summons these red clones so much, left and right, sometimes one, most of the time two, or is it always two, I don't know, I'm so confused. I can dodge all of her attacks without problems, they are not hard, but I don't understand the clones. I tried dodging backwards, dodging up, dodging into them. The only time I didn't get hit by them was pure luck. I guess I was in the right angle. Seriously, if any of you understand this attack, just tell me in the comments, I need to understand. Every time I got into this last phase with 2 or even 3 heals, I made stupid mistakes and the clones hit me left and right. I called her several names during that fight. She really did a great job of not letting me burn the coral. But after 3 hours, I unknowingly started my last try. So this is a really big moment. I mean, there's a lot of build up to it and I don't want to ruin it. So Peggy and Joe get to marry each other, but at the wedding day, Joe doesn't come. He's gone for several days and Peggy breaks down. She's completely done with everything. I don't want to see Joe ever again in my life, you know, all the stuff. And then Joe comes back with his motorcycle. He loves motorcycles. He's driving the whole time with it. And he comes back and I can't remember what his fucking problem was. He loves Peggy, but I think he was just afraid of marrying and he wanted to be single again. Like all the classic stuff. We all know it from stories. I don't want to say that everyone has this problem and everyone fucks up his first wedding day it is. And would you marry Air? That's the question. I would say no, because Air is a fucking piece of Rubicon. Oh god, that sounded super insulting. She literally is, but I didn't mean it in an insulting way. I'm not the biggest fan of Air, but after fighting her several hours in this state, I like her way more than before. I will get the figure I saw. There's an Air figure coming, and if it's not too expensive, I will get it and probably still call her Ira. But now it's time to celebrate. I beat her and actually finished this insane run. I can't remember the last time I was this relieved for beating a boss. Armored Core 6 is actually possible to beat with only loader 4 and no upgrades at all. This is basically the closest thing this game got to a level 1 run, and I'm happy I completed it. Now, would I recommend anyone to do this? Yes. Honestly, this was so much fun. Being stuck for hours doing the same boss was nothing that frustrated me, since you can reload your checkpoint so fast when you do a major mistake. The flat roll missions are seriously the only not fun moments I had. The Enforcer was a spectacle compared to this, but in the end it's your decision if you really want to do this yourself. I'm glad I started this, and I'm even more glad to share this with you all. Armored Core 6 is an amazing game. Last year I didn't even know I like mechs, and just because my best friend introduced me to Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans I got into it, and a few months later I fell in love with this game. I never played something so fast and smooth at the same time. Even Loader 4 has already a great moveset and doesn't feel clunky, which is one of the reasons why I love this run. But that's all I have to say for now. I hope you guys liked this video and commented earlier your predictions. I can't wait to read them. I'm going to do a run with Walter's AC now and compensate for all the low damage I've done these past hours. I hope you all are having a great day.